the White Dog has been buying from local farmers for well over 20 years, but it was about 10 years ago when something happened that really catapulted me into working in a cooperative way to build a local economy here in Philadelphia. And that was when I found out about the factory farming of pigs in the industrial farming system and the cruelty to the mother sows and to all the animals in this system. And when I found out about it, I came into the kitchen and said, take all the pork off the menu, the bacon, the pork chops, the ham, until we can find a sustainable, humane way to buy our pork. So that led to finding a farmer who could bring us pigs that were raised on pasture and rolled in the mud and so on and slept in big pig cows. Then I found out about the plight of the cow and how cows are herbivores and they're supposed to eat grass and they're not supposed to be put into barns and fed subsidized grains. So I found a source for grass-fed cattle. Then I got to the point where I looked at my menu and I thought, gee, I've done it. All of our meat and poultry is humanely raised, and our fruits and vegetables come from organic local farms in season. And this is going to be our market niche. This is the White Dog is the only restaurant in Philadelphia that does this. This is all about us. And then I thought to myself, if I really cared about those pigs, and I cared about the environment that was being polluted by the concentration of manure in these factory farms, and I thought about the workers in these horrible factories and slaughterhouses, and I thought about the small farmers being driven out of business, and I thought about the consumers who are eating this meat that's full of hormones and antibiotics, then rather than keeping these business practices to myself, in my own market niche, I would collaborate and share this information with my competitors on how to buy from local farmers. So that led me to founding White Dog Community Enterprises, our nonprofit, and started putting 20% of my profits from the White Dog Cafe into White Dog Community Enterprises. Hired our first staff person, Ann Carlin, and we started the Fair Food Project. And it was Ann's job to go around to the other chefs in town and talk to them about buying from local farmers. And that's how we got started on realizing that I needed to build a whole local food economy that shared these values, that it wasn't enough just to have these values within my own company.
I have the option to pick one of several charities where I can donate a certain amount out of my check and the restaurant will match that. So by the end of the year, I can make a nice donation to a charity that's maybe more along something the lines that I believe in, and the restaurant is also giving money back to the community after profits. So it's a 1-2 punch where everybody wins.
And since that time, Ann has added a number of projects to the Fair Food Project, such as the Fair Food Farm Stand at the Reading Terminal, our Farm Institution program to connect larger or medium-sized farms with institutions like hospitals and schools, and also our publication. I think we're now in our 7th or 8th year of a local food guide and a wholesale guide for farmers and chefs, and other programs that are part of Fair Food. And now we're spinning Fair Food off as an independent 501c3 from the White Dog Community Enterprises. Also coming from White Dog Community Enterprises was another project, which is the Sustainable Business Network of Greater Philadelphia. And here we focus not just on the local food system, but on the local renewable energy system, local independent retail, local arts and culture, independent media, investing locally, the importance of investing in our local banks or local financial institutions to keep that capital in the way of our savings invested in local businesses and building a more sustainable local economy. When I first heard about the concept of paying a living wage, my first knee-jerk reaction as a business person was, I can't afford to pay my dishwashers, $8 an hour. But then I one day was down in the kitchen, and it just happened to be that 3 young men who were making less than a living wage, who were prepping vegetables in the kitchen, happened to look up at me at the same time, and a light bulb went off in my head. And I thought to myself, what am I thinking that I don't want to make sure that Jack and Joe and Kevin have enough money working full-time at the White Dog to pay their rent and buy the clothes and buy the food? Of course I want to pay the living wage. And so I went about raising salaries up to what then was the living wage at $8 an hour. That was maybe 12 years ago. So another example of that is with my natural environment. I had heard about the concept of renewable energy and the challenge of climate change and global warming, but I hadn't been moved to act until there was a drought up here, in Pennsylvania about 10 years ago. And I drove up to a place in the mountains I'd like to hike. And as I drove up, I saw that all the crops were being dried up and being plowed under from the drought. I got up to the woods, and the leaves were falling off the trees in July. And as I walked through the forest, it was just this eerie silence. Like not even the birds were chirping. And so all of a sudden, it just dawned on me. I just felt in my heart the stress of the woods, of the natural world. From the drought. And I thought, this is what it's going to be like with climate change. With droughts and fires in some places, and floods and storms in others. So I got it. And I went over and hugged this big oak tree, became a tree hugger, and promised I would go back to town and do something about this, and I did. I came back to Philadelphia. I asked my staff to look into renewable energy, and the White Dog became the first business in Pennsylvania to buy 100% of our electricity from renewable sources. But this is an example of combining the head with the heart to make the best possible decisions.
Eric Yost.
Regina Maynor.
Lucas Heckenberger.
Mark Ratman.
Stephanie Mayweather.
The food is great. Come in for the food. Get the pulled pork, get the strip steak. It's all good here at the White Dog Cafe.